Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Today on the table in front of us is, well, something I think is very special. This is the Chris Reeves Sebenza 31. This is the large. This is the new one. I've had a lot of knives, and I've never really added a Chris Reeve. I mean, I've got the Nyala, which is a fixed blade, one of my all-time favorite fixed blades. But I've never really added one of his folders to my collection. But this, well, this just made it feel like it was time. And having had this for about a week, I can tell you, I get it. I just do. This knife is as well made as any knife I have ever owned. The fit and finish are absolutely flawless. The stonewash on this blade is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. It is satin and smooth. It is very slicey, and that Chris Reeve hollow grind means that this thing cuts as well as any knife I have ever owned. And of course, the shape is so straightforward as to just work in every application that I have tried it in. I really, really do love this thing. They are $450, and that is problematic. And I get that. I had to sell some stuff, and I did. I sold some stuff to get this. A local shop of mine out here, a place called Dublin Knives, run by my buddy Deepak, happened to have just this one. Now, I don't like the fancy Chris Reeve knives. I don't like the ones with the laser etching in the handles and all that stuff. But this thing is plain and straightforward and everything I wanted in one. And so when the opportunity came up, I couldn't pass on it. So what do you get for your $450? Well, as I mentioned, you get singularly one of the most beautiful knife blades I have ever seen. Now, I've had other Chris Reeves around. I've borrowed them and played with them, but I've never had one that was mine. And so I never spent that much time looking at them and comparing them against the other things that you can get for your money out there in the world. This is just very good. The scales are blasted in such a way that allows for a ton of traction. The pocket clip, now the 21, which is the old version of this, had a hole right here. The 21, the pocket clip rode square on the lock bar. Now they've moved that a little bit to the left so that it no longer sits on the lock bar. The 21 had a titanium lock that interfaced directly with the S35VN blade, whereas this one, the new 31s, have a ceramic ball pressed into the top of the lock bar. So the lock interface is no longer titanium on steel, but it is in fact ceramic on steel. That is a subtle change that makes a ton of difference. Beyond that, this is exactly the same knife as the 21. Now, I had a 21 here. Oh, see, mine's still very new and stiff. I had a 21 here for about a week and a half. A buddy of mine loaned it to me. I was going to do a straight comparison video, but with everything that's going on in the world right now, I had an opportunity to get him his knife back, and so I did that. I didn't want it to be trapped over here at my house. That's the way things go right now. But I did have them side by side for a while, and they are virtually the same knife. If you have a 21 and you love it, I'm not going to say you need to rush out and get the newest one. But just know that if for any reason you ever do need to get another one, you lose it or break it or something crazy happens to your 21, I think you're going to be plenty happy with the 31 if you go in that direction. I know I am. I mean, this thing is, well, it's just a lot of fun, and it is a very good knife. Now, there's sort of a trinity of knife makers out in the knife world. There is Chris Reeve, there's Strider, and Hinderer. And I know that a lot of people are going to, excuse my arm, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but I would make this into the 4 main names in knife building, because I would easily add Ken Onion. I would. These knives, to me, speak to all the variety and variation that you can get in knives. Some of these are quite old at this point. But these are newer versions of those older knives, except this. This, of course, is the original ZT-0300. Let's stick with what we've got on the table. This, of course, is on bearings now. This is the new tri-way pivot. This is the XM18. This is on washers. This is also on washers. Let's compare these two directly. Both of these knives are very expensive. That's no reason not to pretend that's the truth. You get more cutting edge on the Chris Reeve and a lot less handle. This, of course, is aluminum, but they do make these in everything from titanium to G10, depending on which ones you want to get. Having had both, well, even all three, really, this is my favorite. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not love the Chris Reeve more than the XM24. Why? Because I like really big knives. This is a monster, but it's not really competing in the same league as the Sebenza 31, just because it's so big. No, the direct competition for the Sebenza 31 is the XM18, and while this is a really excellent pocket knife, I like the way that the Sebenza fits in my hand better, and I certainly like the hollow grind on the blade better. These are absolutely competitive. They are within about $25 of each other. If you're wrestling with which one to get, it's going to come down, to me, to aesthetics, really. I can't tell you which way to go. I know that if I had to choose one of these, I would pick this one, just because it is an exceptional daily carry mixed with a ton of toughness, whereas this is thicker through the handle. Oh, hell, I don't know. These are both just really good knives. I don't know. Let's do some other size comparisons while we're doing that. For a while, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and use the Ferrum Forge Gent. This, of course, is the one made by We and sold through Drop. This is a very small knife that I happen to enjoy quite a bit. It is a 3-finger knife for me. You can see my pinky falls off the end, but it has a little bit of a choil up here that you could choke up on. This is an excellent pocket knife, but as you can see, as a small knife, and it is small, the large Sebenza is considerably larger, which makes sense because it's called the large Sebenza. I think we're going to go ahead and use our old friend, not the Rat Model 1, but in fact, the Ritter Hogue, which is, of course, a perfect stand-in for the Benchmade large Griptilian. And as you can see, you get more blade and a little more handle on the large Sebenza. This is a big knife, but not this way. It's very lean through the handle. The overall feeling of this thing in hand is superb. I really like it. Can you tell? I did not think I would. Look, I'm not going to tell you to run out and get one of these. Because I'm not going to tell anybody to spend this kind of money. But if you're already thinking about it and you don't have one, get one. You will not regret it. I don't know, man. This is such a good knife. I didn't want it to. I almost didn't want it to be. Like, I was so adverse, even showing you the other knives I've shown you, to spending this kind of money on straight titanium, S35VN, all that stuff. But I'll tell you, once it's in hand, it's a whole other animal. And it has spent more time in my pocket in the last week and a half since I got it than any other knife I own. I don't know how else to say that. I mean, I have all these choices, and this thing keeps dropping into the pocket. And I feel like it's going to do that for a long time. It is really well made, as I keep saying. It is tough. It is not... Man, I haven't missed a flick with this knife in 3 or 4 days, and here I go on camera and I miss it twice. That's just the way it goes, I suppose. Let's get the basic specs out of the way so we know what we know as a group what we're talking about. You get 1, 2, 3, just under 3.5 inches of cutting on just over 3 3/4 inches of S35VN. The overall knife is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5 almost inches long. The grip area from just behind that rise right there, you get 1, 2, 3, almost 4 inches of grip, which is why it just sits in my hand perfectly. Now, they do make a small Sebenza. If you like small knives, that might be an option for you. It's not really my thing, so I'm not going to get one. Unfortunately, due to the ongoing coronavirus situation here in California, what I usually use as a studio is my dining room table, and that has been turned into my wife's at-home work office. And so some of my tools aren't here with me today. I can't weigh this for you right now, and I can't do measurements on the blade stock. Those 2 implements have been put away somewhere, and I will find them, and I will come back, and I will do that on another video for this knife. However, in the meantime, if you are looking for a forever knife, one knife to rule them all, so to speak, I do not think you can go wrong with the Chris Reeves Sebenza 31 Large. I know that I am super stoked to have this in the collection. I'm going to say it again. The hollow grind on this blade makes this thing so slicey. I've had very, very expensive knives, not just the ones I showed earlier in the video, but other more fancy ones that don't feel quite like workers. Like I'm afraid a little bit to take them out and really put them through their paces. I have no problem doing that with this knife. None. I guess that's where I'm going to end it. I was not a Chris Reeve folding knife fan until I had opportunity to handle and play with a 21 for a while. Enough so that given the opportunity to buy this 31, I jumped right on it and made that happen. So if you're wrestling with it, get one in hand for a while. See how it feels. It is an investment, but I feel like it's the kind of investment that will last you for as long as you want it to. And that makes it a good investment as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm not telling you to go get one. This is a lot more knife price-wise than most people would be comfortable with, and I understand that. But for me, at this point in my collection, having one of these and one of these and one of these makes me very, very happy. And if this makes you happy, we'll go get some, if you can. If you can't, that's okay too. That's the nice thing about knives. There's something for everyone. These just happen to be for me. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Chris Reeves Large Sebenza 31. If you have any questions about this or any of the knives on the table, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time.